The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Today we have Mike Zullo in studio with me to talk about the new discovery he has on the Obama birth certificate and what his next steps are in this situation. Mike, tell us a little bit about the recent discoveries you found on the Obama birth certificate.
Well, we were really fortunate. For a long time we were trying to get a certified document examiner to verify our work and our methodology. We put the document through 1,200 computer forensic tests, and we couldn't find anyone to do it. A gentleman who was helping us tried 212 different document examiners throughout the country. None of them wanted anything to do with it. They gave us excuses ranging from just no to this has got to do with the president, I don't want to get involved, to you need the original in order for me to compare it. Well, that's really not a true statement. The original has nothing to do with this because this is an original fabrication. There is no original of this document. This isn't even a document, it's a PDF file. We were fortunate enough, though, through a chain of events to come across a document examiner who lives in Hawaii. His name is Reed Hayes. Reed Hayes has over 20 years experience, is a court-recognized forensic document examiner, has testified in numerous cases for the state of Hawaii, and as fate would have it, testified for Perkins Coie as a document expert. Perkins Coie is the law firm that represents Mr. Obama on every one of these eligibility issues, and is the law firm that dispatched Mr. Obama's personal attorney to pick up the 2 certified copies of Mr. Obama's long-form birth certificate that the administration says they're in possession of. So it's going to be very difficult for them to impeach Mr. Hayes on any level because they've used him previously in their own cases. And that then would bring in question about his abilities, you know, in cases that they had already adjudicated.
Now, how was he when you approached him? I mean, was he all in, or did he think about it for a while?
As a matter of fact, the gentleman that asked me to contact Mr. Hayes, I didn't want to do it. I was so tired of hearing no. I just wanted to go through it. Thank God he persisted, and he convinced me to get on the phone with him. When I first talked to Mr. Hayes and basically told him what I was looking for, he said no. And I had to explain to him that we were not pursuing the president. We're looking into a fraudulent document, and we think something happened here that maybe the president himself doesn't even know happened. So he agreed reluctantly. He said, okay, just send me the file. I'll take a quick look at it. And I sent him the file in a very short time. I want to say it's down to like 20 minutes after I sent it.
20 minutes, that's fast.
It was fast.
Okay.
He calls me up and he goes, Mike, there is a problem with this. And I said to him, I said, Reed, that's what I'm trying to say. There's something wrong here, and I need somebody who really knows what they're looking at to verify for me that I'm right. And he did. And in about 3 weeks after that, 4 weeks after that, he gave me a 40-page report. And his conclusion in his very last sentence is it's his professional opinion that the document is a 100% fabrication. I mean, it doesn't get any more damning than that. And for somebody like Mr. Hayes, who's got impeccable credentials, to put it out there like that, the document is what we've been saying it is. Sheriff Arpaio has called it a forgery. We're calling it a forgery. And now Mr. Hayes is calling it a forgery. The only people who don't want to call it a forgery is the mainstream media.
Well, and the administration.
Obviously, I haven't said anything about it.
And that's another question. Has he did he get any phone calls?
He's getting
threats, anything?
Not getting threats, he is getting hate mail, which is how it seems to start.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's getting hate mail from some of the same characters that I get it from, which we do believe are paid operatives from the Democratic side of the aisle that do nothing more than do this kind of disinformation campaign and try, you know, to go out of their way to discredit you. So he seems to be getting a lot of that. You know, but him being from Hawaii, it's going to be really hard.
And he was in their camp to begin with, right?
He is in their camp.
It's kind of hard to... Okay, so these 40 pages, can you give us a Cliff Notes version, a shorter version?
I don't want to go into what he said, but all I can tell you is this. Everything that we've said in our press conferences, he has verified. And then he went ahead and did his own work. And I really, you know, I took a precaution with this particular document. There's a lot of civil litigation out there, and they like to take my work and throw it into their civil litigation. Well, this document I was going to make sure that didn't happen with. So I even went as far as having this document copyrighted. So you can't use it. I have to protect this document. So that is going to be under seal, if you will, until the time comes that we need it. I have to do it that way.
Now, with the U.S. Copyright Office, were you able to get any paperwork back from them yet?
The attorney is handling that. I don't know how they do it. But once
Be curious
you put it in
to see what they say,
probably
right?
tell me no.
Right? Sorry, this is
Yeah, no,
unacceptable.
forget you.
Or they lose it, or I know what, they'll call the IRS.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So when you took a look at the document, what's your perspective on the forgery itself?
You know, I didn't know anything about this when I started this. And actually, we were instructed that Jerome Corsi had a lot of information on this. I had taken Mr. Corsi, taken some information from Mr. Corsi, and I asked him to come in for about a 14-hour debrief. And we sat for 14 hours, just 2 days, going through everything that Jerry Corsi had. And, you know, it was about 12, 14 hours into this, I was like, you know what, this is all great, but you don't really have anything here. And then he showed me what just flipped it around for me. He showed me the state register stamp. It's on the bottom of the document. It's on one of its own separate layers. And he showed me the way you can move it all around the document by picking it up in totality. You can move this thing like a big block. And I know, and in my limited computer knowledge, I knew there is nothing that can do that by itself. That turned it for me, because from a law enforcement perspective, that little placard gives the document its evidentiary value, its authenticity. And if that was placed on there erroneously, the whole document is null and void. So you only need one piece of evidence that overwhelmingly suggests the document has been tampered with. The whole document would be null and void. But it gets worse for the PDF. The PDF is a file, an electronic file. It lives in cyberspace. It was never a hard paper document. So you can't take that into a courtroom. You can't take your computer and go to Social Security and show them, this is my birth certificate. They're not going to give you a Social Security card.
Right, they need the original with the stamp.
They need the original. And we have a theory that the original, the reason why you don't see the original, is it was either something was on it that they don't want you to see, or this was recently created. And I have information, but I cannot get it sourced, if you will. That's maybe not the right way to say it. This person will not come forward, will not come public, that are assuring me that there never was a birth in Kapolani Medical Center. And this person is in a position that would know that. Now, this person, again, doesn't want to come public, but I got information like this, and I get a lot of information like this. So you have to take this and look at it and say, okay, if there was no birth there, Kapolani has never issued a statement saying there was. They have never produced a document saying there was.
Right.
We know Queens Medical Center, where it was first reported to be his birth certificate, says he was never born here. Where did it happen? How could it happen? How could he get a birth certificate if he wasn't born in the state of Hawaii? And that's a valid question. When you start looking into Hawaii state law, Hawaii statutes, it's very easy to get a birth certificate.
Well, that's right, because in Hawaii it's a little different than the mainland.
Very different. Very different. Hawaii gives the unique ability for anybody to go in and provide evidence verbally that they know of a birth. And they are compelled to release a birth certificate, take that information and make a certificate. I don't know where this happens anywhere else. Not only that, you can go in and self-report as an adult that you were born there. You could have somebody go in other than your mother and father and claim residency for two people that aren't even present, that claim that they worked or lived in Hawaii, have some kind of document, maybe a tax stub or fabricated tax stub, and get a birth certificate for people that the state of Hawaii never even interviewed, and for a child that they've never even seen. It is unbelievable what that state is able to do with birth documents. And the Inspector General in 2000 issued a report talking about birth certificate fraud. Hawaii is the poster child.
It's the number one.
The number one. Everything that he complained about
knew that.
goes in Hawaii. He also said that the birth certificate cannot be used as sole identification of citizenship or identification. So we have a problem, because if you take away that PDF file, the president has shown nothing then to the American people, and we have no supporting documentation to verify anything of that birth narrative. There's nothing out there that says Barack Obama is the dad. There's nothing out there that calls Stanley Ann Dunham the mother other than that birth certificate.
So you have nothing of the parents even in Hawaii?
I believe the mother was in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. We know the father was in Hawaii, or I should say purported. Father and mother were in Hawaii. But we also know that INS, at the time Obama Sr. was looking to extend his visa, he delivered up this pregnancy story, that they doubted it. They actually, in their own report, said that we believe that, this may be a sham, this needs to be investigated. Now, what's missing is what did they do in that investigation? We know Harvard did not want his visa renewed. They pointed to the fact that he had more than one wife. So, we don't know what he was up to.
Is that a trail you're going to try to follow? Or?
We're trying to follow it as best we can, but, those passport records and those INS records are missing. We had sent investigators down to look for INS records for immigration records, people flying in that would have flown in from maybe Kenya to Hawaii back in 1961. And when we got to microfilm reels from August 1st to August 10th, that whole time span disappears. It goes black on those reels of microfilm, and then it picks up again in August 10th. Well, that's important because Obama's birth certificate says August 4th was his birth date. We were thinking maybe August 4th was the day he arrived in the state of Hawaii. We have no way to know that. The National Archives can't tell us either what happened to those 10 days worth of microfilm.
What about the paperwork from Africa? Is there anything in there?
I have an affidavit from an individual who claims that prior to the first election, and I'm going off of memory on this, prior to the first election, that Black Boots came in, took boxes of birth certificate records out from 1958 to 1962, and they're gone.
And that was where?
That would be in Kenya. That was
in Kenya.
It was in Kenya. Is it true? You know what? I don't know. I have an affidavit, but, from a guy that I've never met, that I can't source, but something in my gut tells me it's true. I mean, it's just not a story you make up.
Well, maybe with more people hearing what's happening now, maybe someone will come forward.
Well, that's the biggest problem with this whole case. The media has clamped down on this. It's a blackout. It's a media blackout. Mainstream media doesn't want it out there.
No.
Because they know when these stories get out there, cops get phone calls. They know the public starts to engage.
Right.
So they want to keep it as quiet.
Well, they're keeping it as tinfoil, under the tinfoil hat.
That's what
they're saying. So where do you go from here?
Well, Sheriff Arpaio has said from the beginning that he wants to get this to Congress. And I was fortunate. I was able to go to CPAC this year, and I spoke for 2 hours with Texas Congressman Steve Stockman. Congressman Stockman has expressed a lot of interest in helping us, and I think we'll have a meeting or two to come. And if my gut is correct, I think Mr. Stockman is going to help us tremendously.
Well, that would be great.
Be great. It'd be great.
We need all the support we can get, right?
You need all the support, but if Congressman Stockman does do something with this, he's going to need the public support behind him. He's going to need public outcry behind him. They're going to have to push on this issue like they've never pushed before. What's becoming apparent, and you folks have reported on it, NSA with blackmailing individuals seems to be, an everyday occurrence now. You're going to have to push Congress hard because God only knows what NSA has on those people. And you're going to have to put them in a position that they can't say no. And I think a lot of this is going to hinge on the upcoming elections. You got 214 elections, and a lot of people in that House are up for it. So this might be an opportune time.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens next with Mike Zullo's new discovery with the Obama birth certificate. It seems like the powers that be have to do certain things not necessarily legitimate to get what they need.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.